Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. How have you all been? And welcome to Monday's edition of the DCU Daily. James Gunn's Superman is a copy and paste of Guardians of the Galaxy. That should come to no surprise to anyone, even if you haven't seen the movie yet. Now, most of you haven't seen the movie yet, but you've seen the clips. And you've got to stop living in denial. Those clips absolutely prove what I'm telling you. That James Gunn's Superman is a copy and paste of Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I don't care what you think of Gunn as a writer-director, but I think even the most, adamant James Gunn hater will low-key say that they low-key enjoyed the first Guardians. I know I did. I knew I walked out of that movie feeling like $1 million, humming the tune. Ooh, I've got a feeling. I felt like Peter Quill. It was a good feeling. But that doesn't make James Gunn, Martin Scorsese, or Steven Spielberg. He did a good, solid job. Everyone was surprised by how good that movie is. And that's okay to admit that. I enjoyed James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I've enjoyed his previous comic book adaptations. Doesn't make him the bestest director ever, because the last thing anyone wants is a Superman movie that's a copy and paste of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. That's a problem. You've all seen the clips. And the clips tell you exactly what this movie is going to be. And there lies the problem. Because I think from the early announcements of all these DC metahumans being in this movie, it was obvious that Gunn was going to be, yet again, a one-trick pony. As much as most of us enjoyed the first Guardians, when we saw the second movie, we realised that this guy is a one-trick pony. Now, he's quite good at that one trick, but that doesn't work with a Superman movie. He tried to defend the decision of all these characters in this Superman movie by saying he has his Daily Planet family, but he's also got his metahuman family. That's not really the core element of Superman. That's not the core element that made me fall in love with Superman when I saw Superman 78. As a kid, when I watched the campy Batman series, it was Batman and Robin. Those two characters were together. I got that. But one of the things that made Superman relatable to me, that he was a solo character. He was a character working on his own. There was something quite beautiful of seeing Superman flying alone, solving problems alone, fighting villains alone. There was something about that we were the only ones, the audience were the only ones who knew Clark Kent was Superman. It's something personal that we shared with the character. Now, I'm a big Smallville fan, but as the show went on and everyone started finding out Clark's secret, I lost that personal connection to Clark Kent. Because one of the special things about Superman is his secret, and that nobody knows who he is. And one of the problems, I suppose, with the Arrowverse as well was that there was, Team Flash, Team Arrow, and there wasn't that connection you can have with those characters, personal connection, the audience member and the hero. And that's one thing I've always loved about Superman. But basically, what this film is Guardians of the Galaxy. He's sharing the screen with other characters. Now, I would have been quite comfortable maybe later on down the road if Superman was sharing his adventures with other characters, but not in the first movie. But this is all Gunn is able to do. It's basically Superman and the Guardians of the Galaxy. So these metahumans are not behaving in a way you would expect superheroes to behave, and Superman has to inspire them. You all know that. That's not a spoiler. That's obvious. You all know that, right? Gunn's kind of explained that already. So already we're getting the same narrative as we've had in every single Gunn movie, which is there's a group of heroes, they're not the best, they're underdogs and they don't behave in the right way, but then they're inspired to become better people. That's not bad storytelling, it's just something you don't need to see in a Superman story. Because everyone's going to watch a Superman film to watch Superman, to have that personal connection with a solo hero. If I wanted to watch a group movie, I would watch Suicide Squad, Guardians, or the Thunderbolts. That is not what Superman is about. Then this is not the best quality of Superman. This is not how you write a Superman movie. And you know what? You know, as I said when I reacted to this movie a little bit without giving any spoilers, you know, there's elements of this film that I absolutely really like. But the problem is then you turn around and you see something else that's not so good. That's the problem with this movie. It's inconsistent. The dialogue is absolutely problematic. And the expulsion of that dialogue, how that dialogue is spoken, is very problematic as far as I'm concerned. As we've kind of devolved into visuals being more important than character dynamics and character storytelling, this is what Hollywood and modern day entertainment has become. About 20 years ago, over 20 years ago, we had Superman Returns. There's that big scene when Superman and Lex first face off. And they're speaking to each other, but Singer makes a huge mistake which most modern day directors make. He was shooting the film with an experimental Phoenix camera. I think that's what it was called. And what he does is, while Superman's talking, you don't see the expression on his face. The camera is on Lex, or it pans away. As a director, what I like to do, I like to focus on the actor saying the line, then the other actor's reaction as that character. So you talk, the camera's on them, then it goes to the other character to see the actor's reaction. That's the best way to do storytelling. Storytelling and shooting a film is very simple. But as directors have become more visual focused and less narrative and storytelling focused, this is where the problems have begun in more underwhelming films. They don't know how to make a good movie. You know, because let's get this straight. There's better directors than James Gunn from the 30s, the 20s, the 40s, the 50s. These are people who had to make their own cameras, had to shoot in black and white. I'm not talking about Schindler's List black and white. I'm talking about proper, grainy black and white. So their stories and their characters had to work. They had to shine beyond that grainy black and white. And entertainment and films and TV drama has moved away from that. And this Guardians of the Galaxy narrative may have worked in the Guardians movies, but it's not going to work with a Superman movie. Because this is not who he is. James Gunn had one simple job to do, and I said to him, I tagged him, for you to make a successful Superman movie, you have to step outside of your comfort zone. And he wasn't willing to do that. This was a huge opportunity for James Gunn to be respected as a hardcore auteur, and he missed the boat. He misses the boat because James Gunn was just doing James Gunn. We've seen the promotion of the movie that uses James Gunn as the biggest selling point. And as most commentators have said, you've got to sell Superman, not the director. And here lies the problem. The problem with Gunn, he has a huge ego. and he can't see past his very own ego, and these are problems within the movie. For example, Krypto. I'm fine with Krypto in a Superman movie, but he can't be this annoying thing. He can't be the be-all and end-all of a Superman movie. And you've seen the clips yourselves. I'm not giving anything away. You know, Krypto is making Superman look fucking stupid in this movie, and we've seen that, and that's part of the problem. James Gunn decided to make a movie about his pet Ozu and James Gunn. Who actually wants to see a Superman movie about James Gunn and his pet dog Ozu? Fucking no one. Fucking no one. No one wants to pay top dollar for popcorn and ice blasts and cinema tickets to see James Gunn's relationship in a Superman movie with his fucking dog Ozu, right? Do you want to watch me with my fucking dog, or would you rather me talk about fucking DC? We all know the answer to that question. It's selfish. It's self-obsessed, and it isn't going to work at the end of the day. As I say, all you have to do, you don't have to believe me. People keep on calling me a liar. You know, question my integrity and whether I've seen this film or not. I know I'm speaking the truth, and I don't have to prove to anyone I'm speaking the truth. But you don't need to believe me. I don't need people to believe me. What I'm saying to you is, all you have to do is watch the clips of these, what they've released, and the trailers to see what this movie is. And it isn't the way you would want to see a Superman movie. Now, full disclaimer, if this movie is beloved by everyone and it makes $1 billion, $2 billion, which I doubt, but hey, you know, let's just say that. I can't control anything. I wouldn't want to. If this movie is popular and makes money, I'll hold my hands up. I'll stand by everything I've already said. And just because if the movie by some miracle is successful doesn't mean I'm wrong from my own point of view. And I know people are going to come in on me. Well, we'll see what happens there. So I just thought I'd give you that disclaimer before you all start on me. I'm quite happy to congratulate someone on a successful movie. But I don't see this movie being successful at this moment. I could be wrong. I just don't. I don't think this is what people wanted from a Superman movie. Superman is a certain character, and people want to see certain things from Superman, like we saw in Superman 78 or Superman 2, or even from a lesser extent, Superman Returns, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, telling a story about this character, right? Making a film about this character, right? Not Guy Gardner, not Hulk Girl, not other metahumans, but actually a story about Superman. He dodged doing an origin story because many people didn't want to see yet another origin story, and I get that, but ultimately you do need some type of origin story in a Superman movie. It's a base, it's a foundation, it's important. They were starting again. They probably shouldn't have started again. They shouldn't have recast the part of Superman. They should have allowed Snyder to do his thing, then finish off, then let someone else come in if that's what they wanted to do. But they never did that. They wanted the MCU. They wanted an MCU aesthetic. They wanted an MCU director to run DC. If I was running DC, I wouldn't allow James Gunn near a Superman movie, let alone running a DC universe. It makes no sense to me. What qualifications does this man have to run an entire universe? He's never even made $1 billion movie. Let me repeat that to you. James Gunn has never made $1 billion movie. So let me repeat myself. James Gunn's Superman is a copy and paste of Guardians of the Galaxy, which you already knew. You didn't need me to tell you that.